What you are about to hear is highly classified. Pay attention and listen at all times. And most importantly, remember, a Wookiee is not just a giant dog. It's a being with feelings, emotions. And if you disagree, well, he could beat the crap out of you. So be careful. Ladies and gentlemen, you are now entering the 4th of July edition of Zone 4. And welcome back to the Zone. I'm Brant Fowler.
I'm John Wilson.
And I'm Captain Ron Fortier. And hey, welcome to episode 276 of Zone 4. And if you've noticed, you're paying attention right up front, folks, we're missing somebody here. Brant, what happened?
I don't know. Gordon, where are you?
He became too posh for the show.
That's what it was.
Now that he's Gordon.
Hopefully he's on his way to a mic close by or something, got held up a little bit, and will be joining us as we go along with the show.
I tell you, he probably heard DanCon was coming back, and he got so excited he just took off.
Yeah.
Didn't realize it wasn't until next year. But
he started walking towards DanCon.
There you go.
Like a zombie.
Anyways.
Yeah,
we figured we'd get the show rolling anyways, because I know I personally, and I'm sure a lot of our loyal Zone 4 listeners really want to hear you guys talk about Derby City Con last weekend. And again, by the pictures I've seen on Facebook, you guys had a blast. Looks like it's a great show. But hey, before we get to that, there were some plugs you wanted to put out there, Brant?
Yeah, absolutely. First, we're going to pause for an audio clip we've been playing on the show for the past 2 or 3 weeks from our friends over at Comic Geek Speak about a fundraising charity thing they're doing. So we'll let that play, and we'll be back with you in just a second.
Hi, everybody. This is Brian Christman,
Shane Kelly,
Adam Murdo,
Matt,
Chris Eberly,
Peter Rios,
and we're from the Comic Geek Speak podcast.
On May 2nd of this year, our friend and fellow podcaster, Jamie D'Alessandro, lost his battle with cancer.
In honor of Jamie, we are participating in a 5K and 10K race to raise money for the Livestrong Foundation, which provides support for people with cancer.
We will be taking part in the Team Livestrong Challenge, Philly, on Sunday, August 17th in Blue Bell, Pennsylvania.
We are collectively running
and walking
under the team name of Jamie's Avengers.
If you'd like to join us in the event or make a donation to our team, go to livestrong.org and search for Jamie's Avengers.
Thank you all for your time, and
Jamie's Avengers Assemble!
All right, so if you can, definitely support that cause. And we definitely want to mention that we are proud members of the Comics Podcast Network, which we've been neglecting to plug the past few weeks. But we are on that website, comicspodcasts.com, each and every week as the episodes go live. So you can check us out over there, along with all kinds of other podcasts, including several comic-related shows. So show them some love. All right.
We are so proud we don't feel like we have to say it every time.
It's implied.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's also in the tail end when we tag out at the end of the show, right? I mean, every week, one of us says, proud member of the Comic Related Podcast Network.
Well, we're
that's
part
not
of,
the same, right?
No,
okay.
No, we're part of 2 different networks, so that's where I get all mixed up. Yeah.
All right, I get it. Okay, I just did that.
We're doubly networked.
Exactly. I don't know what that does for the fees and I don't know. Anyway,
I have this image of the guy in the cell block playing chess with himself. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Okay. Wait a minute.
But anyway, yeah, Derby City Comic Con was this past weekend, and of course John and I were there, and John was just running around, walking very briskly. I'll put it like
yeah.
Getting things done, and I was at my table half the time. Most of the time I was walking around because I get very antsy. I can't sit at my table for very long, so it's a problem. I know. I'm addressing it. People come up and they're like, "Where were you?" Well, I was over here. I don't know, but no. But it was, for me, it was my first Derby City Comic Con that I had the opportunity to go to, and I had an absolute blast. I actually wrote up kind of an afterthoughts article on Comic Related today as we're recording this, and just kind of compared it to Heroes Con for me, which is another show that we all at Comic Related love, for the fact that it is this show that is focused on, just comics, and both indie and pro creators have equal footing. It's just like one big family, and I've kind of got that same vibe from Derby City. And, of course, a lot of our comic-related family were there because it's in the local area. So I got to see a lot of faces, some that I hadn't seen yet, some that I saw at River City briefly. But it was reconnecting with people and meeting new people and talking to fans that, introducing them to my stuff for the first time. And I don't know. I just had a lot of fun. It was a really fun show for me.
Well, I happen to notice that they found Frank Rayner in time for the show.
That is such a funny story. I keep telling this story. Frank, this was like maybe 30 minutes into the show on the first day. And I just got up to walk around to see who I could see to say hi real quick before, settling in. It hadn't opened to the public yet. I think it was just a VIP, and he must have gotten the VIP ticket. I don't know. But I saw Frank walking by. And so I walked up to him. I was like, okay, I'm going to go say hi to Frank. And I walked right up to him, and he just didn't even look at me. So I'm like, okay. So I thought it'd be funny to just follow him for a little bit. So I walked behind him for a few steps, and just no reaction whatsoever. So I got up right beside him, and I'm just walking right beside him, looking over at him. Nothing. Not a nod, not a look over in my direction at all. So we walk along, and he stops at this vendor booth that had a bunch of comic boxes out, and he's looking. So I stop right beside him. I turn to him, face him, cross my arms, and just stand there smiling at him. Never once looks at me. Doesn't even look over. He just awkward. I mean, he's like half turned into me, but he never looks at me, and it's just kind of this awkward thing, and I'm just standing there. And so eventually I just got tired of waiting, and I started laughing and walked away. So
I mean, you sure was Frank or a pod people,
I'm telling you. But the funny thing is, not 5 minutes later, he comes around the corner to where my table was, which I was just on the other side.
Yeah.
And he goes, "I've been looking for you." I said, "Really?" I was like, "I've been looking at you, but hey, whatever."
Well, we're definitely drumming him out of the Sherlock Holmes Club. Oh. I mean, so attuned and aware of his surroundings.
I'm telling you, it was hilarious.
It was comic book overload for the poor boy.
There you go. There you go. I mean, we were talking before the show, and you guys were explaining to me that this was the second year of the show, and it was also the first year it was a 2-day event. What was attendance like, guys?
Have you gotten reports back from Chuck on that, Tom?
We don't have the exact numbers yet. They're still calculating. As we mentioned, the first time at a 2-day show.
Yeah.
I do know that Saturday attendance was higher than last Saturday's attendance.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Which is a plus, because that was a huge bump over the year before Chuck took over.
Mm-hmm.
The show's actually been running 5 years now, but this is only the second that Chuck has had a hold of it, and it's first time in 2 years.
2 days.
So I do know Saturday was an improvement on the prior Saturday, and of course Sunday we have nothing to reference it against. But I can tell you Sunday was brisk.
Mm-hmm.
There were quite a few people there.
Yeah. I think we were all talking about how in the morning it was a little bit slow. Of course, it was church, church day and everything. And as the afternoon, like around 1 o'clock, it started flowing in really nicely, and it stayed pretty steady until the end.
Wow. That's good. That's awesome.
It got to the point we were 5 o'clock was the end of it. It got to the point where we were having to go, okay, folks, that's it, time to go.
Yeah.
We were having to chase people out. It's like...
Even Saturday night, people were coming up after it had closed.
Oh, yeah,
trying to walk in. We were like, no, it's done for the day. I'll be here tomorrow.
Yeah. Come back tomorrow, So it was definitely people wanting to be there situation.
Yeah.
Right.
It was great. There was a lot of cosplayers, a lot of people dressed up in costume. Of course, there were the 2 costume contests.
Mm-hmm.
But, they were as much there to buy stuff and look at stuff too. They were stopping at it. It seemed like everybody was stopping at most of the tables and, at least talking to people. And it just, like any convention, there's lulls here and there. But I think overall it was pretty steady, and I think everybody had enough people coming up to their tables and stuff.
So I got to ask, I mean, I'm getting this, secondhand, but I do want to point out to our Legionnaires out there, if you haven't been, stopping by the Comic Related website every day since the con, you really should, because John and I'm going to assume other people are posting all kinds of great photos from the show, especially the cosplayers. And again, before we started recording tonight, I was commenting on some of the really cool, nifty ones that were there, which again, it's just amazing the talent of people there. So, who were the judges for the costume contest?
The costume contest judges were Jenny Tonic, who is one of the staff members at Derby City, and of course, girlfriend of Chuck Moore. Abby Firelight, who is a professional cosplayer, and I am so embarrassed, I can't remember the third young lady's name. She's a major force in organizing and everything with the cosplay, and I am so embarrassed I've forgotten her name now.
Yeah, I'm not sure either.
Yeah, and she's really kind of the brains behind the whole cosplay thing. And I will definitely have that name for you before the end of the show, but it just jumped out of my head at the moment. But they were the three main judges, and Samuel Sprocket, one of the two heads of the Corn Island Steampunk Society, was the MC for both events, actually. The one you're seeing on Comic Related now is just the adult one. There was also a kids one on Sunday.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
So, actually, there's going to be a couple of galleries of the adult one still, before we get to the kids one. The one that's up there now is just the march. They took them on a march from the beginning of the convention through the aisles so everyone could see them and everything.
Yeah, which was a really cool idea, if I can just interject there.
Oh, yeah.
The parade of costumes as they just came by every table. It was really cool to see. I've never seen that at a con. I don't know if that's a new idea or something they've seen somewhere, but I liked it. I really thought it was cool. So.
Yeah, it's it gives people an opportunity. In fact, we ended up, or actually I and a few other people ended up having to corral photographers. To get people to stand back so they could get through. Especially at the front where we were beginning the march, we were having to kind of make a human cordon to cordon off, a human barrier to cordon off the photographers. So I'm like, okay, all photographers over here, so the cosplayers can come through. You can't go beyond this line. Do not make me get rude with you. You need to stay over here. Everyone will get a chance to see them. I promise you. And all this, and it became a fun and interesting time. But human nature, people want to be right up in the whole situation right away, and it's like come to see at least the person that they know of. I mean, probably everyone in there had a friend or a relative or something that was in the costume contest, because the adult costume contest had quite a few people in it.
Oh, yeah. That was a lot of people.
I mean, I had intended to, one of the guests at the show was Jonathan Matthews, who does all the really cool DC Direct sculptures and all that. I had intended to go there and go and listen to him and record the show, take pictures, ask questions, stuff like that. Got so caught up with the costume contest that I couldn't because it was just so, there were just so many of the adult costume contest people that it became a staff obligation rather than anything else. So and the name of our other person, she is Kim from Malicious Cosplay.
Oh.
As I said, she is a professional cosplayer herself.
Sure.
But anyway, getting back to that, it was just such a involved, intense thing, and also, the point of taking pictures for comic related. It ended up becoming, this kind of this full-time job. It was kind of funny. So I missed out on the Matthews thing.
Yeah, I get it.
Well, plus John and his lovely wife Kim were a lot of the times running the auction table.
Corsair. Anyone who's at the con knows this, but Corsair's had a silent auction. They are charity partner. Mm-hmm. They're a charity partner for the con. It's Corsair Charities, who does a number of great things here in town. One of them being they have children called Corsair Kids that they do things for. These are children with illnesses and disabilities and challenges and things like that. That's one of the great things that they do, and one of the things we do with them is we run a silent auction.
Great.
And we the incredible creators that we have at the con are just so generous. Mm-hmm. I mean, just crazy generous. Vendors as well. One of the local comic book stores named The Great Escape gave us 2 bags of stuff. I mean, just 2 big, like, tote bags of stuff. Wow. And the tote bags were even, comic and fantasy related. One of them was a My Little Pony bag, another a Spider-Man bag. Just full of things. $250 worth of stuff.
Wow.
Nice. And this whole list, they had these really nice looking signs, prepared the whole list of what was in the bags, the whole 9 yards. Now, what you must remember about an auction, this stuff can go for as little as $1.
Yeah.
Right.
If the bids aren't raised. I mean, the starting bid is $1. And it goes from there. And, they insisted that these 2 bags go together.
Oh, wow.
And, that's just one example. Once again, Jonathan Matthews gave us signed Batman black and white sculpture that he had done.
Oh, wow. Man.
And we got like the 1966 Batman, the big one,
mm-hmm.
The $100 one.
Wow.
The bidding on that was insane because people kept coming back and forth. There was a bidding war on that thing. Yeah. I forget what it finally went for, but I think it went for well over retail.
That's great. That is awesome.
And I don't have the exact number on that too, but I can just tell you from observation that we did even better than last year. So,
nice.
So I'm really happy about that. And the thing is, sadly, Corsairs is so, they got so much going on, they couldn't send anybody. Mm. So, rather than leave the table abandoned, that kind of became my secondary location for the weekend.
Oh my God.
So, in addition to running around and doing, the other stuff I was supposed to be doing as a staff member and doing stuff for comic related as far as, getting pictures and stuff like that. It was my wife Kim and I, were, pretty much juggling 3 or 4 balls at once, trying to keep, trying to address all these situations. So,
yeah.
But even with that, I mean, great fun, fantastic people. And, what you were saying about Heroes is really applicable, because, this kind of set up much in the same way that Heroes is. Mm-hmm. If for people who have never been to Heroes or who weren't at Derby City, we don't separate the big names from the independents.
Right.
Mark Waid, Laura Innes, 2 real big names in comics right now. We're right next to people who live maybe an hour away and who have been doing independent comics. Mm-hmm. Or, right next to the local Lego vendor or whatever, we don't separate them up and like put them in a special pedestal spot.
Yeah. I think, Tim Seeley and Mike Norton were like right down from Chad Stroll.
Exactly.
And, stuff like that, yeah.
Robert Vendetti was, right there in the mix with, with I think he was very close to Ren and Victor Dandridge, you know, who two fantastic local guys who deserve all the credit in the world.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
But you know, they're still local guys next to a national guy.
Yep.
And that's the way Chuck planned it, I think, was to, you know, keep that mix of, you know, hey, here's Tony Moore, the guy who created Walking Dead with what's his face? Kirkman. with Kirkman. Okay, you've got him here, and you've got these guys who, you know, just started putting out comics right now. So, you know, and I think that's really the best way to go, because it gives people that kind of overview of what comics can be. And it gives them that kind of feeling of, hey, you know, if this guy who started his comic yesterday can be sitting here next to this guy that, you know, is Eisner Award winning, you know, has been in comics for 30 years, whatever kind of guy.
Right.
You know,
Well, yeah, it creates a sense of community.
Right.
Exactly.
You know, it's like we're all comic book fans and creators here, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah, and you know, I was talking on Twitter with a big name, I can't remember who it was, but one of the big names at DC, saying, you know, it's really cool that, you know, being able to do this thing we love, even though it takes up so much of our time. You know, and it's really kind of inspirational, and I think it's kind of inspirational to, you know, people who are looking to get into comics, that, hey, there's, you know, this guy is sitting next to this guy, they're on an even playing field here. Even though, you know, this guy is like a veteran and this guy is 2 days old.
Right.
You know, it's an even field. Yeah.
But once you create that community sense for the would-be creators who come to shows for the first time, that pulls them in. That's you know, that's just even more incentive, you know, to want to be a part of that family, you know.
Yeah.
And one of the things you just said, John, you know, every time I've ever been to a convention, and I don't care if they're big or they're small, it's immaterial. Once I have an opportunity to you know, sit with other creators as neighbors and cons, you know, to your right and left, you to the back of you, and you share that passion. I've always found that the minute I get home from one of these shows, I'm so amped to get back to creating.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, it's like, it's all you need. Your batteries get recharged. You know, you see what your fellow creators are doing, and man, you just want to get back there and write and draw and keep doing it.
Exactly. Yep.
And what I loved, you know, you know, I don't want to harp on this forever, but what I love is there are no personalities in this. There are no people who, you know, saying I'm the big shit, because, you know, we have all encountered some creators who think that they hung the moon.
Sure.
Yeah, you know.
Oh yes. Yes.
And you know, thankfully we had none of that here.
Oh yeah.
Biggest names in the world, you know, were just completely cool. And
yeah, I was just going to agree with you. I didn't get to talk to everybody, but the ones that I did get to talk to, totally down to earth, friendly, welcoming. Yeah. That kind of vibe. So yeah.
That is awesome. That is really, really great.
Yeah, really good show. Plans are already starting again for next year.
Yeah, I mean, there were people. I walked around a little bit with Chuck, you know, just because that's the only way I could get to spend any time with him, because obviously he was very busy. But I walked around with him a little bit, and everybody that he stopped and talked to was just like thrilled with the experience in the show, and they were like, "Oh yeah, I'm definitely gonna be back next year. Sign me up for whatever's next and all this stuff." And it was, you know, it was really received very well by everybody that I talked to anyway. So.
It's like, when can I sign up? When can I sign up? You know.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, for the November show, even people were like, "Okay, when are the tables going on sale? When can I do it?" And we're like, 9:00 Sunday, and they're like, "Okay." And you know, Chuck said before he even got home, like 20 tables had already sold.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
Well, hey, you know, congratulations to Chuck and to you, John, and the rest of the staff who helped put this on. Bravo to all of you. And you know what? Considering all the responsibilities that got heaped on your poor shoulders, my friend, I think early next year you need to get some ads out for volunteers, you know?
I think so. Well,
free ticket to the show, but volunteers, okay?
The hilarious thing is we had a whole team of volunteers.
Yeah, there were quite a few of them.
You know, everybody was so busy. Yeah, if you see the one picture, all the folks wearing yellow, those were all our volunteers.
Ah.
And, you know, it's just, but everybody had a job. Everybody was working, you know. I mean, you know, it was a busy time. It was definitely a busy time, you know. It was, if you were in any way, connected with the show as far as putting it on, you had stuff to do.
You were busy. You were busy. There you go.
There was no sitting around going on at this con.
Yeah, I mean, and they were too. I mean, some of them were going around videotaping different people. Some of them were sitting outside registration and various things. I mean, they were all very busy. I totally can vouch for that.
It was hilarious. You know, because we were looking. Actually, it was kind of funny because I had double booked.
Really?
Without even realizing it, I had double booked. See, because I had to be the spokesperson or the moderator at the Mark Wade panel. But I also had set up for the Corsair kid that we had sponsored. This really fantastic 6-year-old boy named Camden. That, you know, I was going to show him around the show. And I'm like, oh my God, what am I going to do? So I had to go grab one of the volunteers, who was this kind of young kid herself, just happened to be dressed up as Raven from the Teen Titans.
That's so cool. Right.
And you know, and I'm like, okay, listen, I need you to do this. And I made her a map of where I wanted her to take to everyone, because I had arranged for, once again, our extremely generous vendors and you know, creators to kind of heap some stuff on the kid. You know, heap some items or toys or drawings or whatever, just because I wanted him to have a really positive con experience.
Right.
So, you know, I'd arranged that and arranged kind of this thing that took him over to the kids area where they were going to, you know, do all kinds of stuff for him. And, you know, I had to tap this poor girl, and within 5 minutes I had to explain to her what needed to be done.
Send her on her way.
And send her on her way. So, and you know, as soon as I was walking towards the panel, Camden and his family came, and I had to like, oh, I'm so sorry, I double booked. This young lady's going to show you around. Hope you have a great time and all that. And I'm like, follow her, and she'll take you places, and people are going to do stuff and give you stuff. And you know, they were just excited by that. They weren't expecting any of that. So, that went well, I guess, because, you know, they were all smiles when I saw them again the next time. But
awesome.
Yeah, I had to run off to do the Mark Wade thing. So, which went great, by the way.
It was cool. Yeah, I saw Mark Wade just walking around shopping and stuff.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
So, hey, I mean, you know, to anybody out there listening to this episode, this show today, and you didn't get a chance to do the show this year, start booking early for next year.
Absolutely.
And, yeah, it really sounds awesome, guys. Trust me, I'm tempted as hell myself. Just, you know, ever put a squirrel aside a little bit extra in the budget some year, you might see me hopping around.
That would be awesome. I mean, you got almost the whole year. I know how that goes, though.
Yeah, you've got a whole year to plan. Come on.
Yeah. Oh, hey. I would love to.
It is a 2-day show, so you can justify it.
There you go. Hey. All right. Get receipts. All right.
We'll find you a nice hotel room and everything.
Awesome.
Oh. Hey, now it's getting tempting, guys. There you go. I've never been to Louisville. I gotta, you know, hey. Broaden my horizons.
Yeah, it's kind of it's a really pretty city, and you know, there's a lot to do. This, you know, Kentucky is kind of the birthplace of bourbon, after all. So we can take you to a few places, and
okay. Now, see that would tempt my wife more than me.
Well, there you go.
She loves a good bourbon. Let me tell you. All right.
See, that's how you talk her into going.
I was
Yeah,
gonna
there
say
you
you
go.
got it, Brant. I mean, that's what I'm going to do. When I'll plan ahead and say, we ought to take a trip next year, next spring. We ought to go down to Louisville, check out some of the sites there. We've never been there, and then just happens to say, like about a week before or whatever. Oh my God! There's going to be a Comic-Con going on while we're there. Yeah, right.
Actually, as part of the con this year, Chuck did plan 2 things that were held at a local whiskey bar named the Haymaker, and they're fairly famous for having all sorts of different bourbons up on their wall there. A big concert one night, and then kind of a steampunk event with a mixologist. Actually, the first night reversed that. The mixologist was the first night with the steampunks, and then the big concert was Saturday. But yeah, they were both held at this bar with just this huge wall of different bourbons on it. She would have been in alcoholic heaven there.
There you go. There you go. All right.
All right. So you heard it here. Come to Derby City next year.
Come to Derby City, get drunk.
And to do it all over again. All right, so we should dive into some comic book.
Yeah, we spent a lot of time on
I
this.
know we did.
Comic book headlines.
These are actually pretty short. We'll probably blaze through these anyway. A lot of Arrow related stuff going on this week. First of all, Arrow writers. It's Aaron Kreisberg and let me find the other gentleman's name. Ben Sokolowski, something like that.
Easy for you to say.
I know. They are writers on the TV show Arrow. Actually, Kreisberg is an executive producer as well. They are taking over the Green Arrow comic with issue number 35. And the interesting thing I thought was the fact that they actually came to DC and pitched them with their ideas as opposed to DC reaching out to them. And, they had an idea for the character, a passion. They wanted to bring back the old school Oliver Queen voice to the character that we don't really see in the New 52. So that should be interesting. You guys
I like that article, that press release as well. All of us here are big fans of the TV show.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I think it's only right that if you've got that kind of a success in other media, that this go for both DC and Marvel, but you should really have at least one comic that ties to that media interpretation. And having these guys volunteer to do this for DC, and to, and they say in the article, obviously, and they get it, that you can't do the exact same thing in the comic that you do on the TV show. But they've already taken steps in that direction, even prior to them, with the creation of John Diggle in the TV show, who's now a part of the DC universe. Yep. So, I think this is a really smart move on DC's part to let them run with that. And you know what? I'd personally be interested in seeing that particular comics once they start writing it.
Yeah, I agree. That's I have not been reading Green Arrow. I mean, I've heard about it, how they have introduced like Diggle and different elements of similarities to the TV show. But I think this is probably going to be a really good jumping on point, and I might give it a shot too.
There you go.
As long as half the series isn't told in flashback, I'm okay.
Again, right. That's what you leave for TV anyway,
right,
John.
exactly.
That's what we just said. That's what you leave for TV. There you go.
And actually, he even made the point that's what the digital things are for. This won't be Arrow. This won't be Arrow the comic, which I'm fine with.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And sort of kind of sideways related to Arrow, especially if you are a fan of the TV show. In the comics, Tony Daniel is reviving the Deathstroke comic series, which was canceled early on in the New 52. He's reviving it with a brand new take, and it looks to me the direction they're kind of going is more towards the Arrow version or the pre-New 52 version, as opposed to the watered down kind that we got in the New 52 at the beginning.
Well, yeah, I mean, because the Arrow Deathstroke that Manu Bennett, interpreted is a villain.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I mean, I again, reading this press release from Daniel, I think, again, another smart move, tying it to something that's highly successful, all right? And it's not all that much of a shift to give us a comic Deathstroke that's pretty much a cold-blooded mercenary.
Right.
And the trick with that, and I'm sure both of you guys understand as writers, the trick to that is whoever you put him up against is even more vile and disgusting.
Exactly. Yeah.
There you go.
But I'll say that cover image, if that's what it is, the promo image that they use here, is enough for me to be interested. It looks really cool. So.
Well, he makes the comment too towards the end of the article that here we are, we're both talking about the fact that DC is going to be launching this other Arrow, a closer relation to TV. Now Daniels wants to do a Deathstroke that's somehow related to what they did on the television show, and he ends it with saying, well, if you get both these titles out with that kind of similarity, you can start seeing maybe a crossover story happening here and there.
Oh, totally. I'd be down for that.
I think it's. Go ahead, John. Excuse me.
No, I was going to say, DC has always done well with creating villain books. I mean, going as far back as the Joker comic way back in the 70s. They've always done really well with creating viable villain titles. So I think this will definitely go along that way. I mean, if it can get half the success of something like a Secret Six or something like that, I think it'll do well. Plus the fact that he's taking it out of the New 52.
Yeah, that's always
think,
good.
I think this may be one of the subtle shifts that DC is trying to make back to a non-New 52 universe.
I mean, all this time I've kind of been skeptical of whether they're actually going to do that, but I'm starting to see the seeds, John.
It's getting the feeling.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, I don't ever think it's going to just roll back the clock and go back the way that exactly like it was, but I can definitely see them rolling it together somehow, and giving us more of that pre-New 52 sensibility at least.
Yeah, I get the feeling, or at least I'm starting to get the feeling that we won't ever get back to the old days, of, I guess the last thing we referred to it as is New Earth, or what we always thought of as the DC universe pre-New 52.
Right.
I don't think we're ever going to get fully back to that, but I think they're going to try to maybe create yet another New Earth, where you can take the one or two things that are okay about the New 52 and take the stuff that was good with old DC and maybe mesh those together.
Yeah. We'll just have to wait and see, but
yes, we will.
It's interesting. I like what they're doing now.
Well, I think it's great that the success of Arrow is bringing about these really good changes to the comics. I think that's awesome.
Yeah, that's true, because that doesn't happen very often.
No, it speaks volumes of how good that series is.
Yeah.
And speaking of that series, we have learned...
Imagine that.
Yeah, we have learned... Actually, we were talking about this, and I posted this on the Zone 4 Facebook page when the news broke. We were actually talking about this. It was either last episode or the episode before, when we were talking about Arrow, on different characters that could show up, and one of the ones we threw around was Katana. And lo and behold, Season 3... they've cast Katana, and it's none other than, I'm totally going to butcher this name, but Devin Aoki, who was in Sin City.
Good.
And she's going to play Katana when the show comes back. It debuts on October 8th, by the way, for everybody out there.
No stranger to swords, her.
Exactly.
If you saw her in Sin City.
Yes.
Perfect
casting there, yeah. So I'm very excited.
Yeah, and the thing I like about this, John, is she may make the flashbacks actually interesting.
Maybe so, because they are doing it, with him as people who saw the final 2 or 3 seconds of the last episode of the season finale. Oliver's in Hong Kong right now, or at that time period. So it stands to reason that he's going to run into her at that point.
Yep. Either way, it's going to be fun to see that all play out. I'm really looking forward to it.
Right.
And
I do wonder something, though. Something that I don't think they brought up in the article. In the comics, Katana, once she kills with that sword, the soul becomes part of that sword.
Right.
I wonder if they're going to deal with the more mystical aspect of it, or if they're just going to leave it straight on Ninja Girl.
I don't know. I mean, because they got around the superpower thing with the Mirakuru drug, but now we've had Flash introduced,
Right.
and there is that crossover appeal. I mean, from everything we've heard, Arrow is going to make a cameo in the Flash premiere.
Yeah.
So, there is that connection anyway. So I don't know. I could see them possibly kind of slowly going into that a little bit. I don't think they'll ever call it that.
Yeah, I mean, it's not technically a superpower.
Mm-hmm.
No.
It's sort of more of a mystical ghosty kind of thing.
Right.
So, I mean, it does no benefit for her to have souls in her sword. It just is. Actually, it's a detriment half the time.
Yeah.
But, I could see them doing that. Making it, that way it really limits who she actually kills with the sword. That way it'll be more TV friendly.
Yeah.
That, the number of deaths aren't just racking up.
Right.
But anyway, I have to tell you guys, when this news broke earlier this week, Tony Isabella posted and said, "Ooh, I wonder if they're going to have any residuals from Mike Barr."
It'd be nice, wouldn't it?
Go Tony. Yeah, for the uninitiated, Mike Barr is the gentleman who, as a writer for DC, created Katana for his series Batman and the Outsiders.
Yep.
And a lot of people forget Katana's supposed to be tiny, tiny, tiny.
She is. Yeah.
4'3" or something, really short. So
Devin's pretty short, from what I remember. So that.
Yeah. So I wonder how that's going to go.
And just a quick thing, I mentioned before on a previous episode, Stephen Amell had to step away from Facebook, and the talk was of it being overloaded because of his fans, and his fans are crazy, crazy supportive and everything. But it turns out the reason he had to step away is he actually went to the Facebook offices and is working on some kind of project with Facebook. Ooh. Of all things, and he made the cryptic announcement that at San Diego Comic-Con, Arrow isn't the only thing he's there for. He has 3 or 4 different things that he's going to be talking about throughout Comic-Con. Yeah,
very interesting.
Yeah. So, but I mean, his fans. It was funny though. I saw a post today or yesterday where he was like, "Now, everybody, I appreciate your support and you guys wanting to see me in the movie, but not everything I say on my Facebook page is a little cryptic hint that I'm going to be in Batman versus Superman. I'm not going to be in it."
Yeah.
It's too funny. Anyway, going back to the comics, Wonder Woman is getting a new creative team finally. It's had the same creative team of Brian Azzarello and what's the artist? Cliff Chang. Since the New 52 launched. And they are finally wrapping up their arc. And David Finch and his wife, Meredith Finch, who's going to be writing it, are taking over the book. With issue 35, I think. Yeah. So that's interesting. I'm not too familiar with her writing. I know she's done some stuff for Zenescope. David Finch, of course, Justice League.
Yeah, no, I love his art. I'm just not familiar with her.
Yeah. But I'm still very interested. I have read 1 or 2 of the books that she wrote for Zenescope, and they were very good. So I've got high hopes. I'm just looking forward for a change because I'm not a fan of the current book. So
when I was reading this press release, guys, I had this this feeling about this particular press release. To the point of where we're at in the world today with comics and stuff like that. Because, it's like when I was a kid growing up and going into the 50s, even the 60s and 70s, when comics started to get, super popular with college kids and whatever. And you had this whole, rebirth of the Silver Age, all that good stuff. But even then, I mean, you'd have been shocked to wake up some morning and find an article on comics and because there was no USA at that time, but it would have been New York Times or the LA Times or something, and it's almost like comics are so in now that we get to the point where USA has to write an article when we change writing teams on Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
And I'm like, really?
That is crazy.
I mean, and it describes the Finches as the power couple in the American and I'm like, and the reason I bring this up and actually want to verbalize it, guys, is because somehow it feels wrong to me. And I'm listening to you guys talking about Derby City and all these marvelous creators, all, unanimous as fellow, just everybody's a good guy, a good girl, having fun making comics. And the opposite side of that is these rock star power couples who get written up in USA Today,
Well, no, go ahead. Finish your thought.
Go ahead. It's just an odd feeling, John. You know what I'm saying? It's like, do we really need USA articles on comics? I mean, it's like, why don't you go review the New York Times bestseller list or, what Stephen King's writing? I can get that. But, every time somebody changes writers on a Marvel or a DC comic, do I really want to see that in USA?
Yes, I would agree with it. I'll let you go, John. I'll agree that I don't need to see it every time there's a writer change or whatever and stuff like that. I do think, however, it's cool when they cover big stuff like when Spider-Man Unmasked or like Civil War and that kind of thing, and Superman dying, big stuff like that. I think it's really cool that it seeps into the mainstream culture like that. But I do agree that the minutia like that is not really necessary. So, go ahead, John.
Well, I was going to say, first off, they're not the power couple. It's Jimmy Palmiotti and Amanda Connor.
Right.
There you go.
Yeah.
Let's be honest here. But, no, it does feel odd. It does feel a little bit like, hey, get away from my niche.
Yeah.
You're touching my hobby and you're going to get it dirty. Leave it alone.
There you go.
But yeah, it is odd that they would, it's got to be all the buzz on Superman v Batman that's really doing this, and that's really got people all hyped up about, Brant called it the minutia of comics right now. It's, hey, everybody's looking at comics for the first time ever, and they're paying attention to all the little ups and downs, and I just hope they don't pay so much attention that they start paying attention to the infighting and stuff that goes on, because that's going to make us look so childish and so bad. I mean, especially with the and it's a bad situation and it needs to be addressed, but it's one of those things I really wish we could address inside the industry with the misogyny and the and the sexual harassment and stuff like that. I don't want mainstream people looking at that.
Of course not.
It's hard enough for us to exist as an industry without showing our ugly side to people.
And I do understand that, especially as a wrestling fan, because that's the thing you hear all the time about anytime a wrestler dies, it had to be steroids, even when it has nothing to do with it. And I get that. I do, but at the same time, it's like it's never going to expand and continue to grow if you don't have some kind of exposure like that. But
yeah, we got to get new people in. I mean, it's the the long-suffering thing of comics. We have to get new people in, or it's going to die out.
Right.
That happens with any sort of creative endeavor as well.
Exactly.
If you don't get new people looking at it, it'll die off.
Right.
I mean,
you're telling the pulp fan.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I wasn't gonna mention pulp.
We live on the edge all the time, John. Okay, from convention to convention. I mean, it is changing. Knock on wood. Okay, and I like to think that I'm a small part of that chain of anchoring that particular cultural literary form and hoping that it sticks around. But yeah, the same thing can happen to comics very easily unless you keep getting new blood in there.
Yep.
And as much as the thing I really have started to look at, and the thing I'm becoming to realize is the 66 Batman.
Yeah.
At the time, everybody thought it was cool, great, it's going to help comics. Then there was that time where, oh my God, it's destroyed comics. Look, every article starts with Biff Bam Pow.
Yep.
Yeah.
But now I think we've come around again to the point where, it's cool. We get it. It was campy. It was funny. It's nostalgic. And people are embracing it again. And there's that, Batman 66 meets Green Hornet book out, and they're releasing all the figures, and they're about to release all the shows on DVD. And, I think the industry's coming back around to that. And I hope that we can keep that positivity, and then I hope we can project that positivity out to the non-comics people, the everyday people who see this stuff in USA Today.
Yeah.
And aren't looking at it as, childish foolishness.
Right.
But, secondly, also realize that, hey, it's just a bunch of human beings over here too, with whatever foibles and problems that the rest of the world has. So, don't judge them too harshly.
Yeah.
Right.
It's kind of funny to me, and I don't mean to keep comparing comics to wrestling, but it comes naturally to me. But
yeah,
it's kind of funny because the early days of pro wrestling was like the over the top gimmicks and the goofiness of it all to draw people in, kind of like a circus act, and then it got hard edged, and went a totally different direction, and that old stuff, just like Batman 66, was the campy, grandfather of it, and it's the kind of stuff that we cringe at. But now it's come back full circle again, where there's elements of that mixed in, and it's like we appreciate that past. And I think that's the same thing we see with something like the Batman 66, which has got a huge resurgence right now. Like you mentioned, the crossover thing, the complete television series. They released clips of that. It's supposed to come out in November finally, and all that kind of stuff. And it's I love the fact that it's kind of paying homage to the history of the industry in that way. So even if it was our campy grandfather, but
yeah. So chin up.
That's that's the variety of this, though. That's the point. Okay, I mean, it's basically showing the world that we don't always take, like any other form of art, we don't always take everything too seriously.
Yeah.
And there's a time to laugh and fool around with something and have fun with it.
Mm-hmm.
And whether it's Gorgeous George or Haystack Calhoun or Batman 66, right, guys? It's okay to laugh, and we did, and that's how a lot of these things got started and matured. So now that we're at that place where all art should come, which is there's something for everybody. There's serious and thoughtful and intelligent works out there that people should be aware of. At the same time, there's stuff that's still fun and silly and meant to be, So there you go.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more.
So chin up, Ron. Pulp's time is coming back around.
Oh yes. We got some good books. We got some books coming your way, people. Let me tell you.
And if not, you always have Mr. Jigsaw.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, hey, I have a little story about that, which I'll save for our parting shots, guys.
Okay, awesome. All right, one more news story, and then we'll move on. Neil Gaiman's American Gods novel is to be adapted to Starz, which I thought was pretty cool. I've not read this. I want to. I own it, but it's really cool. A lot of people rave about it, so I'm always glad to see stuff like this get the attention it deserves, I guess. What do you guys think?
I was fascinated by the press release because, the headline you gave us in the agenda, Brant, was, like Starz is picking this up.
Mm-hmm.
And especially over the last 4 or 5 years, we've seen some phenomenal stuff come to cable channels, all right, and be adapted to cable channels and cable is the place to do that. What I found fascinating in the article, and what I was unaware of until I read it, though, was that apparently HBO had the option to do this, and at one point with Tom Hanks and his production company, and they couldn't make it happen. And that fascinated me to no end, because there were a lot of quotes from, I guess, one of the heads of programming at HBO, who mentions in his quotes in the interview with this, that it wasn't that they didn't appreciate Gaiman or the book. Yeah. I mean, they'd actually optioned it, but according to him, it was a really difficult book to translate to what they wanted to do, and apparently tried several different writers, several different scripts to make it a mini-series, et cetera, et cetera. And it just never gelled properly at HBO. And so, I mean, to the point where this guy ends with saying that he's very happy that Starz picked it up, and hopes that, hopefully they're going to have better luck with doing that adaptation.
Yeah. Yeah, and to pull a quote from that, he actually said, "We couldn't craft the script as good as we needed it to be." And I mean, that speaks volumes of the source material, for one, which is very, very cool and very, I don't know, it fills me with promise of, if Starz can achieve what HBO couldn't, how good this could possibly be. So, I'm looking forward to it. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, it became an ongoing thing with Gaiman. I listened to a lot of his interviews and talks, and it became a thing where people would say, "Hey, have you heard the latest American Gods rumor?" And he said, "Yeah, it's the latest American Gods rumor," because it kept happening and happening and happening, that everyone was so close to it happening, and then something would yank it away. That it's been with HBO for a while now, and as it said, they just couldn't make it happen. Right. But it became like this ongoing thing of every time someone would get all excited about it, it would just get yanked out from under him. And he got to the point where it's like, until I see it on screen, I'm not going to believe it's happening.
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, we could do a whole show on books that, have been translated and adapted, correctly to others that haven't been. Yeah, and it's not as easy as I think the viewing public understands. Right. It's like they read a book and enjoy it and go, "Oh yeah, well, why can't you make this into a movie or a miniseries?" Well, there are different, things that are related to that form of storytelling, to the different, media. And unless you can, understand that transition, some books just give movie people fits.
Well, even, sticking with Gaiman, they translated Stardust, which he likes parts of the movie, but, there are definite parts of it he's like, "Oh, no, that's not what I meant at all." So, once it leaves his hands and gets in the hands of scriptwriters, it also becomes a different thing. Exactly. You don't always get what you want.
Right, man. There you go.
But if he does serve as an executive producer, which I think he said,
I think so.
Yeah, he'll, because I know Kirkman has a lot of say of what goes on to the TV show. I mean, obviously not final say, but he definitely has a lot of input. So I would imagine if he has that level of input, it could be very faithful.
I think it will, and I wish it was on HBO, because I have HBO and I don't have Starz. But I'm still glad either way that it has managed to find a home, and that people are going to get to see his work. For people that don't read it, I mean, other than like I said, Stardust, the occasional BBC show, or the 2 Doctor Who episodes. Mm-hmm. People don't necessarily get to see his work that aren't readers. Right. I mean, it's not like Stephen King, who sneezes and they make a movie of it. So it's cool that stuff of his is getting out there wherever it ends up.
Right.
I mean, I'm even a little excited about the Joseph Gordon-Levitt take on Sandman.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, if it does happen, I'd be willing to see it, because I'm very much an early adapter of Neo Gaiman. I've been a fan for a long, long time now, so.
And I like Levitz as an actor. I think that's
I
an
do too.
interesting.
I think he could pull it off, honestly, but
too.
we'll have to see.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so that wraps up our headline portion of the show, and that just leaves us with topic time.
Topic time. It's topic time.
And this week for topic time, we're going to talk about a couple of books, issue 3 of 4 and an issue 2 of who knows how long. Which one do we want to start with, guys? You want to start with Star Wars or Dr. Spektor?
Well, hey, let me just chime in here real quick because of revolving hosts and in my absence, on and off for the last month or so, both these struck me as fun because I wasn't around for Dr. Spektor's review number 1.
Oh no.
Okay, I really didn't want to change this, Brant, because there are times when you do fall into a series. Right, without that knowledge. And I thought, hey, that's cool, because I can bring that perspective to that. Okay. And Star Wars Rebel Heist, I'd been on the show, we did number 1, but I wasn't on when you guys did number 2, and now I'm on number 3. So, I'm ready to have some fun with both of these, whichever one you want to start with.
Awesome. Okay, let's do Dr. Spektor first.
Okay.
All right.
All right, so
what the hell's going on?
I know.
Exactly.
Dr. Spektor number 2, written by Mark Waid, surprisingly. I don't have it pulled up in front of me. Who's the artist? Somebody tell me. Anybody know?
Yeah, Neil Edwards.
Thank you.
Yep.
I definitely jotted that down because, aside from not knowing what the hell was going on, the art is great. He's a damn gifted artist.
Well, let me tell you, Ron, I don't know if you listened to the show where we reviewed number 1, but there was a little confusion on what was going on in that issue, too. And I think I had a clearer understanding than John did. But by the end of this issue, I am totally lost. I don't know what's going on.
So let me see if I'm wrong, guys. And this isn't even so much as a review as trying to make sense of this.
Yeah.
And Mark, if you're listening to the show, kudos, because it's nice every now and then not to know what's going on and try to work it out. Dr. Spektor is a celebrity.
Yes.
Right? He's got this TV show or radio show or whatever, and he's known across the world, like I said, as a celebrity. He's very successful in all his endeavors and whatever.
Right.
And now we've reached him in a point where, and a couple of things that I'm trying to get straight in my head, again, feel free to jump in, guys. Somehow or other, his producer was killed in a bizarre event.
Yeah. Well, let me jump in real quick. Last issue, he had a guest on the show, and he's used to dealing with people that aren't truly gifted or whatever, I guess. That's the impression that I got anyway. I could be totally wrong. But anyway, this one lady he has on actually had some kind of gift, and something went haywire there, and his producer friend died, supposedly. Yeah. So that's kind of where we kick off with this one. So continue.
Right. Then he's got an assistant. Mm-hmm. He hired an assistant who is seeing visions.
Yes.
She's seeing, and not only just visions of this other girl, herself maybe, but also herself in the future, aged.
Yeah.
In one scene. So, people are listening to what we're talking about here. And then, not really, I'm not going to say who, because I think that's way much of a spoiler, but thanks to Brant here, Brant had a link to an article where Mark Waid answered a few questions and really just add more questions to the first opening sequence of this issue, where he talks about he's uniting the Gold Key licenses properties.
Right.
And so we're going to get cameos, and sure enough, by the second half of this issue, we get an awesome cameo, and I'm not going to spoil it, okay? But of all the Gold Key books, The guy, the cameo in this was my favorite series from Gold Key.
Nice.
And I followed it through Valiant, and again, one of my favorite comic characters. But boy, don't he show up with a portent of evil. All right? That cliffhanger ending. Holy smokes, all right? So, you know what? As confused as I am, I like this book. And I may just go hunt up the first one at the local comic shop, sincerely. Kudos to Mark. Again, it's a puzzle. I like solving puzzles. I think, you know, it doesn't sound haphazard. It sounds like Mark really has a handle. He's got a convoluted plot, but he knows what he's doing with it. And obviously, he's having a blast writing it. And like I said, the art is top notch. So I'm giving Dr. Spektor 2 thumbs up. Hey, what the heck?
I honestly think Mark is just sitting back laughing at all of us right now.
I think so.
I am.
Because boy, am I lost.
I really enjoyed the first issue, and I think I stated that on the show. You know, different elements of. I love the supernatural element of books anyway, and he kind of plays with that and the celebrity kind of thing. And this issue just, I'll admit that I read it really fast, and I think I need to reread it and slow it down. And I'm not going to say it's bad. It was just, like you said, very confusing. I'm not sure what I read. We see two timelines going on. We have 55 minutes, like an hour in the past, and we have present. And depending on who you're following, it's like completely different. I don't want to give too much away, and it's kind of hard to say what I'm trying to say without giving too much away. But basically, things are different. Very, very, very different. With just an hour difference between them. And it's just, you don't know what's going on. And it's kind of got me so curious that I do want to pick up the next issue just to see if it unfolds a little bit so I can figure out what the heck I'm missing or whatever. But, you know, it is very nice art. The dialogue is very good. I just, like I said, I don't know what's going on. But it's fun. John?
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of the same. I'm completely lost. I had no idea that old woman was supposed to be her. Later on, I mean, yeah. I know she meets herself at one point later in the story, early on in the story. That I got, but I didn't realize the old woman was supposed to be her yet. I sort of recognize the person that emerged, but I kind of don't, so I don't know what the connection is there. I mean, I know it's another Gold Key character, but I don't really know the character, so I'm not quite sure of the connection there. I'm a little confused with where they took the little magic mirror thing and put it against his chest and drew the jewel from him, and yeah, it's all very. I just don't know what's going on, and that kind of intrigues me, but that also kind of annoys me that I can't get a handle on the story, and you know, I don't understand why we have the one person missing in one timeline and the other person missing in the other timeline. So yeah, I'm all I have to hang on to here is the art, which is good. But as far as the story, I'm pretty much lost right now. I'm not sure where it's going. I mean, the only thing I am certain of is you were right that he's kind of an occult detective in the way that, you know, he actually has some powers, but it's very much like the reality show sort of thing that we see today with the kind of ghost hunters or defining Bigfoot people or, you know, stuff like that. Very much that sort of thing. So I don't think he does generally deal with people who actually have any sort of powers or gifts or anything like that. Right. I think he's usually very much debunking people, you know, kind of a la Harry Houdini in his later years.
Right.
Where he was debunking mystics and people like that. So, you know, that, and I think that's why he got taken by surprise and why initially his producer died or didn't die, depending. So,
well, you know,
so we'll have to see.
The thing with Dr. Spektor, and and the reason again, okay, I get this sense that ever since Marvel, all right, way back again, going back to the Silver Age, ever since Stan Lee gave us Doctor Strange, it seemed to set, like this mold for what occult supernatural books would be like for the next 20, 30 years, okay? And I think in taking this assignment, I think Mark sat back and basically said, you know what, I don't want to do that again. I don't want to do the occult, investigator, detective, would-be mystic defender of the realm and all that in a straight linear fashion. Because that's what we got. If you recall the Doctor Strange concept, I mean, we were still, doing the 60s narrative form, which is basically introduced a character. He's a surgeon. He gets in a car accident. His hands are crippled. He becomes an alcoholic, all leading up to him going to Tibet. And he learns from the mystic masters and blah, 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 blah. And here Mark turns all of that totally on its ear. Mm-hmm. Okay? He flips it around completely. He makes the guy, like I said, a celebrity. I mean, he's somebody you're going to see on the newspaper rags, when you go and checking out and whatever, the Inquirer and all this, right? Dr. Spektor does this and whatever. He knows where Elvis is buried, whatever. This kind of thing. And so he, instead of saying, well, let's just show Spektor and an origin story, no. Let's have him be this guy, like you said, a lot like Houdini and the debunking stuff. But what would happen if he really ran into something he couldn't explain, which is obviously the event in issue number 1. And from that point on, his life becomes way chaotic. And boy, that's about as far away from the mystic master of Doctor Strange, who's always in control, to a guy who's not in control of anything. Mm-hmm. And for that, I like it a lot.
Yeah. And I'll add in that article, which was kind of a mini interview with Mark Waid, and I'm not going to give too much away here, but 2 things he said in that kind of also piqued my curiosity. One is that we've already met the big bad, we just don't know it yet.
Yeah, so yes.
Yeah, and the other thing was, at the very end of the interview, he said, all I can say is nothing is as it seems. Not figuratively, nothing. Literally, nothing. So, I mean, it does sound like he definitely has a handle on this, and he knows exactly what he's doing. It's just, it's racked my brain, that's for sure.
Yeah, yep. I mean, it almost feels like he's deliberately trying to be surreal.
There you go.
And to not follow any sort of linear, not only linear time, but linear storytelling.
Exactly.
Right. It's interesting. You got to give him that if nothing else.
Yeah, I mean, as long as we can stick with it.
Yeah.
Eventually we're going to need a concrete signpost somewhere to tell us where the story is going.
I hope so. Or either that, or in issue 6, Spektor's going to wake up and it was all a dream.
It was all a dream, or he's in a shower or something. Something that'll.
Hey, Hangover 4.
Yeah, the Hangover 4.
It's a shame.
He'll wake up with a face tattoo and a tiger.
It's a shame we couldn't read this, John, before this past weekend.
Oh, I know. Well, so we could nail him down and go, okay, what's going on here?
Yeah, so what the heck did we read? Oh, shoot.
What are you trying to say? We don't understand. Yeah, my whole panel with him would have been that.
Yeah.
Okay, explain Dr. Spektor to me right now.
Yeah. Right. 10 minutes.
So Ron gives it 2 thumbs up. I give it a thumb kind of spiking, like, I don't know, it's going up and down. I don't know what's going on. What do you give it, John?
Keeping with the way I feel the surreal nature of it, I give it a thumb and a banana.
Okay. Works for me. Oh, shoot. All right, so next up we have Star Wars Rebel Heist number 3 of 4. And the first issue, which we all 3 talked about, had Han Solo and his idiot sidekick there. The second issue, which we're on, I apologize again, did not get to read, was Princess Leia and who she was dealing with, which we all kind of agreed that was a very good issue.
A much better one, yeah.
Yeah. So now we have Chewbacca. and this guy that Leia sent to him, who has this key code within him, and he's got to take him into the heart of the Empire to get this information so he can basically get a message out. And that's all you need to know about the plot, basically. But what did you guys think about this one? Ron, since you didn't get to do the last one, you can start with this.
Okay, well, you know what I really appreciated, and let this word get out to comic book writers and editors out there, because I did miss the second issue. There's a nifty little recap on the inside cover of this book, which really was most helpful, okay? Because I remembered the first issue, read the recap, and went, oh, okay, they shifted from Han, they did Princess Leia, and it brought me right up to speed. So that jumping into this issue, I didn't feel lost at all. I knew, okay, this is just a continuing saga, and he's playing off the different, characters from the Star Wars franchise. So to that effect, and now, I mean, his main character is this stormtrooper with this DNA code inside of him. Like I said, I'm set. I'm ready to read this thing, and I ended up liking this a great deal. You guys just, let me know book 2 was good, Princess Leia. This one caught me by surprise because honestly, Chewbacca. I mean, I like Chewbacca. I, watched, again, I'm a fan of the series and all that, but was never center stage that much. Always seemed to be, the sidekick, which he is to Han, whatever. Whereas in this story, we get to see him from this rebel stormtrooper, through the stormtrooper's eyes, and there's that disdain immediately, and the smell of him and all this good stuff. And then as the story progresses, his own interpretation, his own admiration for Chewbacca, all right, evolves. It becomes something else, which I think was superbly well done. And I found myself going along with it, okay, to the point where even the art, there's one panel where it's a shot of Chewie's face, and it's so well done. It melds so well with the captioning that you're looking at Chewie's eyes. That's when he starts talking about the scars under the fur.
Yeah.
And the things that this character's, you know what? I had this whole new look at Chewbacca.
Right.
Totally, that I'd never had before in the films. It was really well done, and it ends with, some straight out action, and I'm way curious to see how, what's going to happen next. But, again, for a guy who didn't care that much for number 1, this number 2, I'm glad I was on this week, guys. I like this comic a lot.
Awesome. Yeah, I felt the same way. One thing I will say, I know the Star Wars prequels get a lot of crap, but one thing I will say positive from them is where they showed the entire village of Wookiees, and I gained a little bit more appreciation for them in that. But yeah, I really appreciated the fact that there was that progression throughout this issue. In the beginning, and like through half of it, he was calling Chewie it. He wouldn't even refer to him as him.
Yeah.
It was just it was like a dog, a giant dog to him, and his appreciation for the character of Chewie as he went on. You mentioned the scars. He said he was kind of expressing, in that narrative that. The scars are usually hidden by the fur, and I saw the fury and the loyalty and the friendship and the compassion in his eyes and all this stuff, and it builds that appreciation for that character, and kind of gives him more depth in the overall Star Wars universe, and that's not easy to do in a comic, especially with such an iconic property as Star Wars.
Amen. Well said, Brent. You got it.
So I really enjoyed this issue as well. So, John?
Yeah, I'm very much the same way because it really struck me. I guess I kind of always knew it, but I didn't realize how much, I don't know if I should call it racism or speciesism, that there is against Wookiees in the Star Wars universe. That, and you see it in Star Wars, like get this big walking carpet out of my way.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. It's like until you get to know a Wookiee, I guess you're very much like, well, these are just animals. These are just savages.
Yeah.
And it really got to be kind of one of those things where, and I may be reading too much into it, but it got to be kind of one of those things that became allegorical of where, you have this person from this, supposedly superior, quote unquote, race or place, and then you come and you're encountering this, lower or savage person, and until you get to know them, you think less of them. And I'm really surprised that they went that way, because Chewie is such an iconic character. To kind of put him in that, to kind of put him in that lower register place in the mind of the narrator until he comes up, until the narrator gets to see Chewie for what he really is, which is a very noble, loyal, intelligent character. That it kind of took me back, and it really made me appreciate this more than I thought I would. Because it kind of made me dislike the narrator at first very much. Because we as readers and stuff have a past history with Chewbacca already.
Yeah.
And we know what kind of character he is. And for the narrator to be denigrating him in that way kind of turned me off. It was kind of like, how dare you? Say this about Chewie. This is just as bad as him not getting a medal after the Battle of Yavin.
Right. There you go. Exactly.
It's kind of that same thing. Yeah. And it's like, that kind of turned me off. But then when he came around and kind of realized what Chewie is, I'm like, okay, well, I can kind of get behind this guy again. So then, of course, at the end of the story, they have something big and ugly to deal with. But
yeah.
Oh yeah.
But I very much ended up liking this. In a way that surprised me, because at first I thought it's like, oh crap, here's the first issue again, where we have this person who's not very nice or not very good at what they're doing or who they are. And, they're denigrating the iconic character. But yeah, I was real surprised when he came around. And another thing that really surprised me, real quick, and then I'll let you have it, is I'm really surprised they didn't try to translate Chewie. Because they translated everyone else.
Yeah, I'm glad they didn't, though.
Yeah, me too.
That's the point. But yeah, are we seeing this as a recurring theme in the three issues? Because although I didn't see the second one, wasn't Leia being seen from other eyes?
Yeah.
Yes, she was. And actually, at first, she was kind of seen as, oh crap, they sent me the princess.
Right.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So it's like it is a concurrent theme throughout this series, and it's basically and I think it's a real smart move on Kind's approach to this, because I don't know about you guys, but for a franchise that's been around for 30 some odd years now, I mean, I'd be scared silly to write these characters. What else can you do with them?
Right.
And his approach to that, to letting us see them from maybe, slightly negative, ignorant perspectives, and then realizing who they are, I think it's working admirably well for the series.
Yeah,
I think it really is. And, I don't want to say he learned from his mistakes, because I don't know if he did or not, but, these past two issues have been so superior to that first that, and ultimately, maybe that was the point, to make us hate that first guy.
Yeah.
Right.
And to really, see these other guys as positives later on.
Right.
Yep. Exactly.
So, I mean, it's
only goes to show you shouldn't give up after issue number 1.
Exactly.
This is true.
So it's a fair bet we're going to see Luke in the last one, right?
Oh, definitely.
Yes. Right.
So it'll be interesting to see that, too, because, I mean...
And the droids, probably.
Yeah. Because at that point, I'm guessing if we're looking at this as all these characters like Han, Chewie, and the princess, people don't really fully know them or are aware of them. totally just maybe heard word of them here and there, when they see Luke for the first time, who is just a farm boy, basically.
Yeah.
We're going to get that same kind of sensibility and you know, follow.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see from whose eyes we see Luke.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, yeah, even as a Jedi, I mean, you know, physically smaller and younger than most of the people in the rebellion.
Right. This upstart's giving me orders, you know?
Yeah, exactly. It'd be interesting if he went with, you know, if he was paired with kind of an old... kind of old school rough and tumble sort of military guy, and he's coming in, you know, I don't care if you're a Jedi or not, I'm in charge here and all this other stuff.
Yeah, that would be a fun way to go. But yeah, this is one of the last Star Wars things we're going to get from Dark Horse, and I'm really enjoying it. I'm looking forward to the last issue, and we'll definitely talk about it on this show. So.
And then Marvel takes it and turns it into a musical comedy.
And the comic community collectively groans.
Yeah.
Oh, shoot. All right, so pretty much a thumbs up for that one all around the table.
Yep.
And that's going to wrap us up. So all we have to do is go around the table and see what everybody has coming out, and going on. And Ron, I know you've already hinted at it, so I'm sure you have some stuff to talk about. Go first.
Yeah, just a couple things. You mentioned Mr. Jigsaw, so one of the things I wanted to talk about as this show airs, the second issue of the independent comic magazine, Charlton Arrow, is out and available now, and you can get copies of it at indieplanet.com. And that's the one I told you guys about that has the brand new full-colored Mr. Jigsaw story.
Yeah, awesome.
Okay, so that is out and that is available, again, at indieplanet.com. And at the same time, because I got hooked up with Mort Todd, the editor-publisher of this series, I've been talking with a lot of the other creators about some of the old classic Charlton characters, all right? And in that process, one of the artists, found, I think it was issue number 6 of Joe Stanton's E-Man from Charlton Comics. Mm-hmm. And what they did was towards the end of that run, and they introduced in the back of that book Joe Gill, Steve Ditko character.
Oh, wow.
Called Liberty Bell. All right? It was an 8-page story, and that was it. She never reappeared again. Well, what happened was some of the guys on the Charlton Facebook page that are involved with this new magazine, again, all centered on Charlton Heroes, somebody done a pinup of Liberty Bell, and then other people started talking about where'd she come from, who did this, and whatever, blah, 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 blah. So the bottom line is there's absolutely no remaining copyrights whatsoever. And one of the guys actually got me digital copies of the entire 8-page debut of Liberty Bell.
Oh, wow.
So much so that as we were going back and forth talking about this, and as you guys all know, you know Gary's artwork, he's pretty much a Steve Ditko clone. Mm-hmm. I literally opened my mouth and said, well, you know, wouldn't it be cool to have her meet Mr. Jigsaw?
Nice.
And everybody clamored, so I am now writing a new Mr. Jigsaw story which will feature Liberty Bell, a character that hasn't been seen in something like, I don't know, 40 years maybe or whatever, actually created by Steve Ditko. So I wanted to give you guys a heads up about that. And it's gonna appear both in Mr. Jigsaw in black and white, and eventually will end up in the Charlton Arrow in full color again, which is going to be a lot of fun.
Awesome. That's very cool.
That's the latest Jigsaw news. The latest Airship 27 news is hopefully by this weekend, and if I get an opportunity, Grant, I'll send you the cover, but I'm not going to have the links for the Amazon pages yet, but hopefully we're hoping our 14th title of the year is going to be out by Sunday. And which is obviously because I'm leaving Tuesday. I'm flying out Tuesday. We wanted to get it out. The book's going to be out hopefully on sale at Amazon in hard copy, eventually in Kindle. It's a novel that plays to the classic pulp mashup. It's called Hit Wolf. It's by a writer named Fred Adams Jr., a gifted writer. This guy's amazing. And the concept and the plot of the story, it's the 1970s in Newark, New Jersey. There's a gang war going on. And one of the gang leaders finds himself connected with an occult practitioner who basically tells him he can turn people into werewolves. So the mob boss literally gets his men to go out, and they end up kidnapping an ex-Vietnam veteran and turn him into a werewolf. Put an amulet around him so that the occult wizard can control him, and they have him doing the mob boss's bidding. Ergo, the title Hit Wolf.
Nice.
But of course, the guy's a former Green Beret, and somehow or other manages to get free. And that's all I'm going to say about the book. It's amazing. It's got a beautiful cover, and it should be out by next week. Available at Amazon.com. There you go. That's what I got going on.
Sweet.
That is cool.
Yep. All right. How about you, John?
Well, let's see. I am doing sketches for a children's book being written by a teacher friend of mine named Katie Williams called Landscape. It is going to be the adventures of a tree and flowers in the typical suburban yard. So I'm currently anthropomorphizing flowers and trees and things like that.
Nice.
I've also been tapped to write a gothic romance story for Dave Arhar's Penny Dreadful Press. Can't tell you too much about it yet because I don't know that much about it, but it will be your not quite typical ghosts falling in love with a human story. Let's see. Beyond that, I still have the 9-page Bound for 12-page Bound for Pangea Island story that I need to draw. It's been written for quite some time. To draw for the Steampunk Originals number 7 that's coming out in September. And Ron knows this because I hit him up on this, but I'm thinking of doing something with the old pulp character named the Woman in Red.
Yes.
Yeah, she's a kind of mistress of disguise character that solves crimes and mysteries and that sort of thing. Not a great deal out there on her, honestly. So it kind of leaves the playing field fairly far open for me.
Sure does.
So not quite sure how I'm going to do her. I think I'd prefer to do her as a comic, honestly, but
I'm getting
there's
the offer
also
out there, buddy.
yeah, there's also the possibility for prose, but I think I'd like to do her as a comic. So that's out there. In addition to that, I was going to try to do these tryout pages for the comic book Lazarus, but I'm still on page 1. and they're due in just a few days. So these pages are so intricate. I think they will have to find a faster inker than I to do these, even though I'm still doing them. But incredibly intricate art on this, so takes a while to ink that sort of thing. Beyond that, still playing with coloring here and there on my own, and of course, as always, somebody in my neighborhood just blew up their house, but as always,
I was like, what the hell?
The thing about my neighborhood, when it gets even close to a holiday, they start blowing crap up. But and as always, doing stuff for the mighty comic related. As we were talking about earlier in the show, I'm up to Gallery 4. You will see Gallery 5 tomorrow, and so on until I run out of pictures, which is going to be a while, because there's quite a few pictures between my wife Kim and I. There are quite a few pictures on that roll, so you'll definitely have some picture-y goodness to look at for days ahead. Oh, I should mention in addition to that, my new friend Troy Copes does a blog called Uncommon Geek. It can be found at uncommongeek.com. He interviewed me at one of the rare moments of my sitting down in one spot at Derby. Plus, he gave his own insights to his visit to Derby City Comic Con this year. So I encourage people to go over to uncommongeek.com and check those out. And I don't think my interview's up yet, but it will be soon, I'm sure. But he does say very nice things about me over there, so there you go.
His podcast does run on Comic Related as well.
Yes, indeed, and a great podcast. He's a really cool guy. He and his wife do it together. He's a really cool guy, kind of unique voice in the comics thing. So yeah, definitely go check him out.
Yeah, his avatar kind of is General Akbar from Star Wars in a Star Trek uniform. So.
Yeah, it's definitely covering the genres, so to speak.
Exactly. All right, so just a few things from me. First off, Henchman Inc. #1 is still doing very well from what I hear. Still getting really good reviews. We are working on issue 2 already. This week I've already flatted the first 2 pages of issue 2, and it looks fantastic. Looking forward to getting that out to the masses. It'll be a shorter issue going forward. I think the subsequent issues are only going to be like 12 pages plus some additional material and stuff like that. But I'll be on the lookout for that coming up soon from Monkey Brain via Comixology. Singularity, Rise of the Posthumans, tentative release date again is Christmas of this year. It's a steampunk superhero anthology that I was graciously asked to write a story for, which I'm up with a plethora of great talent, including Jamie Ramos, Jenny Wood, Lee Houston Jr., Nancy Hansen, John F. Allen, and David Michelini. So I'm very honored to be part of that group and very excited about my first prose to be published later in the year.
Way to go, Brian.
Thank you. I'm working on a new art series that I showed a few people. I showed Victor Dandridge, I've shown John, and everybody that I have shown it to is really pumped, really positive about it. Gave me great feedback, so I'll be on the lookout for that coming up soon. Just something fun I'm trying, and we'll see where it goes.
It needs a name.
It does need a name. I got to work on that too. But it's fun. It's simplistic, but it's I think people will get the charm in it and kind of connect with it once I show it. So. Also, I mentioned, I think last week, that I have a new artist on Wannabes, Ewan Nazif. He has sent me 3 character sketches so far, so hopefully I'll get those up online somewhere in the next couple of days so everybody can take a look at the new, preliminary versions of Doberman, Esmeralda, and Ignition from Wannabes. So I'm very excited about that and getting that back on track. And, of course, comic related, like John. They're doing something every day. And all the other stuff that I'm doing. New Comic Day is about to celebrate its 5-year anniversary in about a week and a half. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
It's crazy. And we're working on ideas for a massive collection of all the year's strips together and all kinds of cool stuff. So, stay tuned to newcomicday.net for more info on that. So, yeah, that's all I'll talk about this week. So we all have a lot of
that's plenty
going on. Yeah, that is plenty, definitely. So with that, we will close out the show. Any volunteers?
Sure, why not?
Go for it.
All right, hey, we'd like to thank the official bands of Zone 4, the Ray Wall Band, and Society's Play that you hear on the show each and every week. If you have any comments, questions, or suggestions for us, send those to Zone4 at comicrelated.com. If you happen to see Gordon Domowski, tell him he's missed.
Gordon!
Yeah. Gordon! We are also a proud member of the Comic Related Podcast Network. And as always, thanks so much for listening. You are now leaving Zone 4.
On July 4th. Happy 4th, everybody.
Hey, happy birthday, America!
Yes.
This is only a test for the X-Men.
This has been a Gonzo Goose production.